Welcome to the Rap Show, edition 74. I'm your host, Mike Wood. This week, I'm calling it the enterprise ATS market has had its Napster moment, not the slow moving disruption, the kind where the floor drops out and the rules change overnight. And I'll get into why. We've also had a stacked news block. Phenom bought Plum. Fama got a foundational patent. Amazon launched a mass hiring agent. WorkHuman is trying to predict your next VP. And two big plays this week on portable verified identity from Checker and Recruitix. Plus, Car is adding compensation. LinkedIn's grad guide for the toughest entry-level market in years. Burson on Workday's pivot to a platform of agents. Frontline hiring with Achilles. And a frankly damning New York Times investigation into the EEOC. So let's get at it. Hit the theme song.
It's the Rap HR Tech News and Shenanigans. It's the Rap. Here's your host, Mike Wood.
My main story this week is about the rug being pulled out from legacy vendors. What separated winners from losers in the ATS market 3 years ago, configurability, integration depth, compliance coverage, implementation support, those are just table stakes now, or they're irrelevant. The only question buyers are really asking in 2026 is how AI first is this platform really? Not do you have AI features? Every deck has AI features. The question is whether AI is baked into the architecture or bolted onto the outside of a building that was designed for a different era. Now, those are not the same product and they don't perform the same way, and the gap between them is widening every quarter. But here's where it gets complicated for buyers. A significant portion of the enterprise HR tech market is owned by private equity firms that acquired these platforms between 2020 and 2022. Peak valuations, peak leverage, historically low interest rates. The math made sense at the time, but it doesn't make much sense now. Several of those deals are sitting on debt loads that constrain R&D investment at exactly the moment when R&D investment is the only thing that matters. You can't re-architect a platform from the ground up when your debt service is eating your operating margin. But what you can do is cut headcount, install a new CEO with an AI background, and launch a rebrand that signals forward motion without requiring the capital that real forward motion demands. The tell when you're evaluating a platform isn't the demo. Demos are engineered to impress. The tell is what the company is not saying. If your vendor is leading with a new brand identity and an AI product name workshopped by a consulting firm, ask what changed in the code base. If the answer is a list of AI features rather than a description of an architectural change, you have your answer. Counter narrative running in parallel, smart recruiters, remember, they were in a tough spot before ChatGPT, customers leaving, talent leaving. Then they actually re-architected around AI and positioned themselves as the recruiting AI company. And that distinction is what SAP paid for last September. And in October, SAP confirmed that they're not treating it as a feature add-on. They're replacing the entire SuccessFactors recruiting module with smart recruiters. 3 to 5 years to migrate. And that's a complete changing of the guard in enterprise TA. The platforms that bet on AI architecture won. The ones that bet on AI marketing are still running the clock. And mark my words, by fall conference season, buyers will want to see actual product, not promises. Let's get into the week that was in HR tech. Phenom just made its second acquisition in 10 weeks. They're picking up Plum, a psychometric-based talent assessment company. Phenom's framing here is sharp. They're calling Plum the plug for the biggest gap in modern hiring, validating the human qualities that resumes can't verify and AI can't replicate. Plum's proprietary role model technology maps behavioral blueprints against more than 40,000 real-world jobs, reportedly 4 times more accurate than resume screening alone. The traits they're trying to surface, empathy, resilience, judgment, adaptability, these are the ones that don't show up on a LinkedIn profile and don't survive the 55-minute intake interview. Now look at the stack. Plum sits alongside Be Applied, which Phenom acquired in February. Be Applied covers cognitive and situational judgment. Plum covers behavioral traits and durable skills, and Phenom's own agentic AI handles sourcing, delivering, and interviewing. That's a system of checks rather than a single checkpoint, validating what candidates can do, how they'll approach the work, and whether their behavioral profile actually matches what success in the role requires. That's a meaningfully different pitch than we have assessments. Next up, Fama Technologies just got the U.S. Patent and Trade Office to confirm what they've been arguing for a decade, that they invented their category. The Los Angeles-based online screening company was granted a patent covering its core method for searching, analyzing, and classifying online activity, with prior dates going back to November 2015. The patent covers 22 claims extracting personally identifying PII from source documents, pulling social media activity, transforming image data into structured data sets, and so forth. Founder and CEO Mone's line, "We didn't just enter the online screening market, we created it." Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm interested to see where the specifics are with the patent itself and what this applies to. But so far, this is a massive win for FAMA in an increasingly crowded space. It was only a matter of time, but Amazon just introduced Connect Talent, an AI-powered hiring platform designed for companies that need to recruit at scale. Think retailers staffing up for peak season. The system runs AI-led interviews around the clock, screens candidates, preps recruiting notes, all without a human in the room. Amazon itself hired around 250,000 seasonal workers last holiday season, so this is clearly a product development born from internal pain. But here's the part I love. They're calling their broader AI design philosophy humorphism. That's their term, not mine. The idea of humanizing AI to adapt to how people actually think and work. The irony of branding an interview replacing AI product around humanization is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. But frontline hiring is a massive market opportunity. It's worth keeping an eye on if Amazon can perfect this and decides to maybe expand the tool into other companies. My old friends at Work Human just made their biggest bet yet on AI powered succession planning. It's called Future Leaders. It's built on Work Human's proprietary Ascend AI model. And the claim is that they can identify VP plus leadership candidates 3 to 5 years before the traditionally promoted. Now, rather than relying on manager gut feel or annual talent reviews, the system analyzed patterns across thousands of workplace interactions already captured in WorkHuman's recognition platform. Who's influencing others? Who's delivering impact? Whose behaviors mirror the fingerprints of leaders who actually succeed? The models are self-learning and they recalibrate in real time as roles shift and leaders rise. The business case is straightforward. Replacing senior executives costs, 200 to 400% of their annual salary, and roughly half of external executive hires fail within 2 years anyway. But if you can grow your own leaders without this level of predictive confidence, the ROI math isn't that complicated. Couple stories here. This is a move that the background check industry has been building for towards years, and Checker just took the biggest step anyone has taken to get there in a while. I'll go into that. Checker Profiles lets individuals create a verified portable identity backed by Checker's screening infrastructure that they own, they control. They share proactively with any employer, marketplace, or platform that they work with. A caregiver can share it before first introduction. A freelancer can embed it on their website. A gig worker can arrive on a new platform already verified. For employers, it embeds directly as Checker verified badge with the job boards and marketplace. Over 500,000 people have already created a profile since launch. GigSmart is using it as the entry point for their flex worker on their platform. And what's interesting is what comes next. This is a logical extension of what background check companies have always done. But turning that verification into a candidate-owned asset is a fundamentally different model. Sterling, First Advantage, HireRight, every other major player in the space right now has a roadmap item they can't ignore. So the race is on to build the user base, and whoever scales it first wins because a verified identity network is only as valuable as the number of people who have one. Checker has a meaningful head start. But here's another approach to the same problem. Recruitix just dropped Adaptive Apply, an AI-driven application experience that dynamically adjusts questions, length, and flow based on job type and performance data, and critically embeds identity verification directly into the apply flow before candidate ever hits your ATS. They've chosen a launch partner with ID.me. They already have 160 million users, roughly 60% of the US adult population, which means that my information is probably in there somewhere. But a huge chunk of your applicant pool can verify their identity in seconds with credentials they already have. It's the same problem, but two different approaches. Checker is building it from the background check side. Recruitix has embedded it from the application layer through ID.me's wallet infrastructure. And worth flagging, I will say that Greenhouse got ahead of both of them, partnering with Clear back in June of last year. Same destination, but from a different door. So 3 different companies, 3 different entry points, same destination. A world where your verified credentials travel with you from platform to platform instead of getting rerun by every employer from scratch. Some quick funding and acquisition news. Your Future is Manchester based. That's Manchester, UK. They closed a 1.7 million pound seed to take on what they see as a broken entry level hiring system. They ditched the CVs and job boards in favor of a behavioral science matching algorithm and a quote, social first Gen Z distribution engine. All right. Track Check closed an $8 million Series A out of New Delhi. Their AI powered background verification platform bills itself as a human operating system for hiring. And Lumen Apps, the AI powered employee hub backed by Bridgepoint, is acquiring Coleman, a workplace experience platform covering space management, digital science, signage, and visitor services. Deal is expected to close in May. For my research and report section, LinkedIn dropped their 2026 grads guide, and the data does not sugarcoat the situation people are feeling right now. The class of 2026 is entering one of the toughest hiring markets in years. Entry level hiring is down 6% year over year. Mid level hiring is down 10%, just by the way. And nearly half of Gen Z says that the biggest barrier to landing a role isn't skills, it's network. 1 in 5 has started a side hustle or business rather than wait for a traditional job to materialize. Another 22% are building apps and projects to just prove that they can. Good job, folks. Keep doing that. That's what's going to set you apart in this market. But here's the kicker. The number of LinkedIn members adding founder to their profile, including this guy, surged 69% year over year. And 72% of young office workers say that they're considering skilled trades. If you're hiring entry level right now, this is your candidate pool. They have built things, they have founder titles, and a lot of them are looking at the trades as a serious alternative. So that should reshape how you write your job posts and how you interview. For my HR hot take this week, Josh Burson went deep on Workday's strategic pivot, and it's worth your time if you're an HR tech buyer, seller, or watcher, just like most of what Josh says. Short version, Workday is repositioning from a system of record into a platform for agents. That's the argument. The business rules, compliance machinery, and org configuration baked into Workday over 20 years are exactly the rails and AI agents needed to operate at an enterprise scale. It's a compelling argument. The acquisition of Paradox and Sana give it real teeth. The more interesting subplot is that their co-founder Anil came back as CEO because the company lost its startup culture and their AI strategy wasn't clear. He promptly rebuilt the executive team, narrowed 50 agent projects down to 15 in a single afternoon. So inspiring. And handed talent acquisition and learning to the CEOs of Paradox and Sana, respectively, as full general managers with P&L accountability. Now, that's serious commitment. Now, Josh is bullish on Workday, but there is a disclosure I have to put out here. I have to add some context. The Josh Burson company has a financial relationship with Workday. Their Galileo HR assistant is integrated directly into Workday, and the partnership facilitates the sale and use of Galileo within Workday's customer base. Now, that's not a knock. It's just context for regular readers. Psst. And if Workday, wait. If you want to embed Wrap Plus premium memberships within your platform, let's talk. There's a form at the bottom of ilovethewrap.com. All right. Our podcast of the week is from the Unleash conference where I met up with Reed Edgar of Achilles. And what I appreciated most about this conversation is that Reed isn't another founder who stumbled into a frontline hiring role from a PowerPoint deck. He has screened thousands of hourly candidates himself, 5,000 by his own count, while expanding a staffing operation in Arizona. He spent years recruiting in oil and gas, skilled trade, and light industrial across 30 states. Then he built the platform that he wished he had. Achilles plugs into your existing ATS, integration measured in hours, not months, and he's quick to point that out. And it handles full screening workflow via conversational text, deal breaker questions, skill validation, phone screens. It's all tailored dynamically to the role. So if you're in high volume for frontline hiring, check out the episode. The link is in the newsletter on ilovethewrap.com. And I had to bring this up because I'm calling it as I see it. If you are following what's happening in the EEOC, it is a train wreck. You may remember that I wrote about Andrea Lucas in the EEOC a while ago. You have to admire her tenacity in finally tackling the great injustice of systemic discrimination against white men. It's a problem. There's a damning New York Times investigation that went out this week that details how field staff at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission are being pressured by Chair Andrea Lucas to fast track cases that match the Trump administration's priorities, even when the evidence is thin to non existent. Something we've seen in this organization many times before. If reality doesn't meet your narrative, just create it. So Lucas has reportedly been scouring the agency's internal case database herself, maintaining a top 30 priority list that nobody can touch without her sign off, and providing regular case updates directly to the White House. A break from the firewall that has traditionally existed between the two. Meanwhile, its agency is at its lowest staffing level in decades, 90,000 complaints a year, only 400 investigators. So to recap, Andrea Lucas is dismantling the machinery built to protect workers from discrimination in order to spend its last remaining resources hunting for evidence that white people are being mistreated. But hey, the White House says she's doing a phenomenal job. Now, I don't know what else to say. Read the piece. It's bleak. But that's it for edition 74 of the Wrap. Big reminder, check out the website. Wrap Plus launches today. It's $10 a month. I'm just asking to help support the effort that goes into the Wrap each week. Instead of paying a big vendor, pay me. I'm a nice guy. I'm just trying to survive as a journalist. If you've been waiting for a deeper dive on the platforms we cover here every week, this is a chance to unlock it. Sign up, check out the sample profile I built on Workday. And if you're not subscribed to the free newsletter yet, head over to ilovethewrap.com. It hits your inbox every Friday. There's no fluff, no spin. Well, there is some spin, but it's more entertaining spin. But anyway, I hope you had a great week, and I'll see you next week.